Hello. Beep 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 beep. Hey up. How you lot doing? I've been having a bit of a mullage as usual after a conversation with a couple of people last night. It's quite extraordinary to me the number of people in this bloody never-ending fight that we're involved in who are singularly unable to extricate themselves from their long-held allegiance to a political party. There you go. I've said it. It's utterly extraordinary when you have this kind of culture war that we're seeing. I mean, people call it a culture war because it actually is one. And eventually that, because culture's upstream of politics, eventually that will drop down into politics, or drip down into politics, I should say, which is to a certain degree what it's doing now. But the politics it's dripping down to is utterly unfit for the world, not just in which we live, but in which the generations to follow will have to live in. And I think this is going to be really telling over the next few months and years as people learn to divest themselves of a collective party loyalty. Now, I don't have loyalty to any party. I will quite happily take down, have a go at, or praise for that matter, any party that I think is heading the country in the right direction, or that is orientated towards one of the most important factors in my life: truth, reason, the Enlightenment, free speech, anti-censorship, intelligence, meritocracy, intelligence, talent, and excellence. Now that's sort of sums up my little ball of what's he doing? What's he doing? Now apply the little ball. I don't understand why people can't simply say, well, that's what I stand for. And I don't care who's got together as a group and decided they are going to, or they're not going to go in my direction, and then are able to look at the politics of each issue. So I think that the idea or the concept of a collectivist political party, Labour, Reform, Tory, to me, it's looking a bit old and jaded, but I might be wrong. I mean, you can quite happily tell me that I'm nuts in regard to this, because I might well be, as you know, bit of a loon. So from my perspective, I really am wondering where this is going to take us. Because if we can't, I mean, look at the BBC. They editorialize all the time. They're sanctimonious liars, right? It's not like they're going, well, here's a different viewpoint. They're liars. Most of the journalists are liars. They use in female pronouns for males. It's absolute nonsense. And these opportunists in Westminster, whether it be the Tory party or whoever the hell it is, have done nothing, right? So I looked then to see what was happening on reform. And over the last couple of days, they've had a bit to say about gender, but even they don't get it. Even they don't get it. Yeah, they're making all the right noises. They're orientated towards my little ball, right? But they aren't, but they don't get it because they haven't raised themselves up a level to recognize that this is an entire thing. That actually it's one great big thing based on equity and critical social justice, Marxism, and all the other rubbish that comes with it. Well, that presents people with a problem who traditionally would see themselves as Marxist, because the minute it drops out of culture, they've got to put their leftist knickers on. Stop doing it. Right? It's good. No, I mean, all of that type of thinking needs to belong in the 20th century, where it really should stay. It's got nothing to do with how people live in the world in the future. For those of us that are old enough, and I'm certainly one of them, there's many people in this fight are not in the prime of their youth, shall we say. I don't want to be cruel to you. It's not our world we should be worried about. It's the world that follows we should be worried about. We're nearly done. Now, that might stick in your craw, but it's true, right? And the world that we're going to live in is not one that currently sees what we're seeing happening. Britain become this tiny little island where don't show us anything too difficult, don't allow us to get hurt, we'll censor this to save the population from themselves, which smacks of the whole Lady Chatterley judge comment about what happens if a servant gets hold of this particular book. It's insane. Openness, transparency, end censorship, free speech absolutism. That's the way to go. That's the way to go, because that's the world people are going to need. Now, at the same time, on the inverse of that, we need laws that can seriously tackle the dangers of, first of all, the corporates, then governments, all the big tech stuff, the obvious stuff that we know, and particularly the police. In other words, we need to make the individual sacrosanct. And I don't mean in a sort of, neoliberal, I'm going to dress up like an Afghan and screw this guy who thinks he's a skink kind of way, right? I mean, in terms of it must be really hard for the police to take your equipment, for example. It must be really hard for the police to get a warrant to search your home. It must be really difficult for any corporate to use your data. It must be really difficult for any government to own your data that links back to you. Now, I've got no problem with anonymized data across the board. You want to anonymize data? Use it for what you want, because big data is going to give us some fantastic stuff. But on the other hand, we've also got to look at what it might be used for wrongly, and we need to be legislating against that. We cannot elect the lunatic, nut jobs that think that males are females, or that everything's racist, or that you need to queer the world and tell primary school kids that nothing's secure, it's no boundaries. We don't need them in power, and right now they're in power. And what I don't see is anybody anywhere near power that is going to end this entire boondoggle. I mean, do you, honestly? I mean, the woke are just authoritarian despots at this point. What's the point of these bloody people? Right? It's not just an academic exercise where we can sit and talk about it. It's not. It's affecting people in real life. Psychological manipulation used in training in workplaces, for example. Right? This isn't about Starmer or Badenoch or, for that matter, Farage. It's about us dismantling this revolting woke edifice that will destroy the future generations that come. Me, I'm, I can give it all up, sell the flat, live in a caravan, whatever it takes. What you do when you're broke and you retire. I can do all that, right? And just sit there with a cat and tend my garden pots and pretend the world's all okay and just, drop off a cliff in about 10 years' time when my time is up. We can do that. We can sit back and go, sod it, let them get on with it. But the truth of the matter is I want a better world for the gay men, particularly, that I know, the young gay men that I know. I want a better world for them. That's why my little ball, no censorship, free speech, right? Zero tolerance for crap would be a good start. Free speech is fine, but as a society, we have to have a route that is secure. And that route is in the Enlightenment and everything else that I've discussed with you before. So get out there, share a pint with an individual and tell a story. Do what you got to do. That's what the warrior teachers and I are attempting to do. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's ever changed anything is one person at a time. One person at a time. We cannot allow the middle class and the academics to give this away in some kind of, slap on the back, kumbaya, let's find a compromise thing. There is no damn compromise with this shit, right? Critical social justice, which is essentially woke, which is political correctness, which is straight out of the USSR. It's an old enemy repackaged. Armour up. It's the only thing we can do. I'll see you later, good peeps. That's my ridiculous mull of the day done. Bye-bye.